You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show.
Should be live. Yes. Hello? Anybody there?
Hello.
Oh, there you are! Okay, I was going to say, wait a minute. Where'd you go?
I didn't go anywhere. I was answering a question in Jabber. Incubus starts things off. Hello, everyone. It's been a couple weeks for me. We had the Burn Cheetah fun times a couple weeks. I was away for Ice Storm in Austin last week. It is good to be back, and wow, that is a lot of subs. That's fantastic. That's just the way I like it. Bode is apparently still out. We have a lot of guests here today. We have a lot to talk about. We have, surprisingly, lots of things have been blowing up in EVE Online recently. So we actually have a number of items of major news. Some of the things we're going to be talking about today before I introduce our guests. Probably one of the biggest shakeups in the culture of CCP in possibly the entire time that I've been playing EVE, which is now 14 years. God's help me. Is CCP Guard is going to be leaving CCP Games. Which is almost, I don't even know. We also have news about Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to be going on a deployment somewhere. We don't know where, but we're going to be discussing the fact that they are going on deployment.
Yes.
Test lost their first ever, or the first ever, Commodore. And we have a few other fun bits of stuff that we're going to be talking about. We also have Bruce Grubal here from the CSM, recently back from CSM Summit just a couple weeks ago. We have K-Color, who is K-Color and is in charge of dropping heavy hardware on things and coordinating stuff. And we also have Highwanta Destroyer, who is here for all tea, no shade. I pretty much just love it when he talks shit, even when it's about me. So I'm glad
literally the reason he came.
Whole panel. He's good at it, right?
Well, he saw me. I was trying to ping Brisk, and I forgot to write Brisk. I just said, "Come hang out." And he saw that and goes, "Oh, good. I can come hang out and just destroy people. Hey, that's what I'm gonna do."
Wow, thanks.
That's why we keep him around.
Like I have nothing bad to do. Thanks.
No, I mean, it's great to have you here. We like having you here.
It's 4 o'clock on a Saturday. Exactly what did you have better? We're all watching Meta Show anyway.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I'm going to turn myself down just a bit. Sorry. So yeah, I have some news. Since everyone, we didn't have a Meta Show last week, I started my diet 2 weeks ago, and I'm down to 14.5 pounds, which is pretty awesome. I have a lot more to go.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and then I got to grow a beard. Apparently, that's a requirement now. What's my weight at the moment? Fat. That's the best way to put a weight on it. But I'm actually still able to jog, though. I did, what, 2.5 miles yesterday, which was nice.
This has been your boat health update. So I want to go through here and give some shout-outs. We have a whole bunch of stuff. We had Incubus for 34 months. We had Silverius for 8 months. We had J Amazingness for 30. Aaronrod Bagan, Diesel 1975, Seabass Unique, Real Lee, Penguin Bacon, Robin Hood. Wow, there's even more here. Red Skinnergad, Canonica,
Artaway.
Ingress for 30. That's nice. Artawe for 28. High fives all around.
Yeah. So today's top story, and we're gonna press a button because I like buttons. And this one's pretty sad. The state thanks you for your donations. Yeah, so CCP Guard, literally out of nowhere, has announced, well, I say out of nowhere because I didn't know, maybe other people knew, but he announced that he will be leaving CCP Games, I believe after 15 years at the company. He's been there as long as I've played the game. Like, and I've been 12 years now, so I wasn't exactly sure how many years. But he's gone, and that's sad. Because I'll be honest, in my personal opinion, I think during the high sec, what do they call that? Like the riots in high sec, I think if it wasn't for guys like Guard, the game probably would have phased out then, like it died off. I think Guard's like personality, happiness, and like awesomeness kind of kept the game going in a time of need.
It's going to be fascinating. I'd actually like to bring Brisk in on this because he was recently in Iceland. Brisk, did you get a chance to actually talk to Guard? And what can you tell us about that? What's your take on the situation?
Well, the funny thing is, we had gotten there. The traveling to the summit is usually a pain because the Australians get there first because they have to travel for a while. So we don't usually start anything with the summit until like Monday, but we all usually get there Saturday or Sunday. So we do events together. We saw Guard Saturday night at a party that CCP put together for everybody. And then we all hung out together on Sunday, but we didn't see him. The first thing that they told us Monday morning when we sat down for the summit was, oh, by the way, Guard's leaving. So we all look around at each other like, you guys are, this is a joke, right? You're kidding. And they're like, no, it's serious. And then we're all like, oh, shit. So it was one of those things where we felt like, okay, this could be really bad. If he's leaving, the face of the company, does that mean, Eve's going under or CCP's going under? And he just flat out, he just told us, and it was all put in the Reddit thread or the Evo forums post that he put in there. He's like, look, I'm getting older. I've been here for 16 years. I've never done anything else. I woke up and said, you know what? I think I want to try something different. So he's going to basically go do internal communications for a big Icelandic company. That's nothing to do with games, nothing to do with Eve or CCP or anything else. He's not going to any other game company. And it's really just, I think, kind of hit like his midlife crisis. I think we all have thought about, like, what could I do if I could just throw everything away and go do something different? And I think he finally just stepped up and decided he wanted to do it. So I give him credit for that. But, you're right, Boat. This is going to be different.
Yeah.
He's been the face for so long. And he pulled the CSM back from the brink. You can talk to Aerith and some of the guys. A couple of years ago, we all thought this thing was going to just die. It was going to be over because it was just bad. And he came on board and turned around the relationship and really has been there for all of us for a while. So we're really, really going to miss him.
Yeah, I mean...
Brisk. Did it catch you off guard?
Oh, God, yes. I've missed you, High Wanted. That was awesome. K-Call, that was K-Call. I thought it was High Wanted.
K-Killer does.
Hi. I got to give you credit for that, K-Call. You had the good pun. I thought it was. But that was a good pun. That was scary. But that makes me upset.
Okay, so I'm gonna opine on this. So I think that there are a couple of ways that this could be interpreted, right? I think that if Guard was leaving to go someplace else in the games industry, that we should, if he was leaving to go work in some other games company, I would be very concerned, right? Like if Guard was staying within the industry but had chosen to leave CCP, I would see that as a sign, something that augurs very poorly for the health of EVE Online. But instead, because he's going into another Icelandic company and is just going to be doing something completely different, it seems much more just completely unrelated to EVE. Like he's been doing this for a long fucking time, and
years apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at it for 14 years, which is kind of frightening. But it's not my job. I've like changed things in my career and done new things. It was I can't imagine doing one thing job wise for 14 years without losing my fucking mind. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. Svinny owns. He's a great guy. He's always been here for the EVE community. It's interesting because here's the thing about Guard that I want to say is that there have been CCP members, employees at the center of community scandals of one kind or another. Or maybe even not scandals, talk about situations where there's just a game design change and people get really mad at them, right? Like CCP Fozzie has never really been involved in a scandal, but I talk shit relentlessly about FozzieSov because it blows ass, was poorly implemented, was poorly conceived, things like that. If you look through the history, even people on the community team have been at the center of controversies. One of the things that is fascinating to me about Svinny's record is that he has been at the center of everything EVE Online. And in many ways, when we think about EVE Online and representations of the company, we think of Svinny in many videos, talking to people, being at meets. And I cannot think of a single controversy where people have been mad at CCP Guard. He has never been in the crosshairs, even though he is always visible. And I think it really says something about And I think this is really rare because, I mean, especially in a game full of assholes like EVE Online, is that he's just genuinely a good person, right? Like, just a great guy. And it really highlights how rare that is. And especially in this community, like, if he had done something shitty, even people who don't do anything shitty get like shit thrown at them because that's EVE. And I've never seen people go after Svinny. Everybody loves him. It's like one of the only things that people in EVE can agree about is that Guard owns and is a great dude. So the good news is that if he is not going anyplace on the games industry, and if he's going to be in Iceland, hopefully that means we can still party with him at FanFest, and he'll be able to let his hair down.
Well, an interesting thing is like, think of it like the dynamic duo. Like everything positive I've ever thought of the game in the last, I don't know, 5-6 years was him and Falcon, right? And Falcon was the technical side of the dynamic duo. Like when Guard would come around, he'd tell the jokes and he'd have fun and be all smiles, and then you'd have Falcon right behind him telling you the technical things and the reasons and the whys. So it feels like you're losing that half, right? Which is a big deal. I don't know. We'll see where it goes, because that's a kind of employee you can't really replace. I don't know anyone else at CCP at the moment that has his love of the player base, right? Like
Beyond B.
Who?
Beyond B, dude. Beyond B is like the only nice guy in this game. I love.
But is he at a CCP employee?
Nah, he's not a CCP employee.
No, but
he's quite well tied. Yeah, he's quite well tied with CCP.
But I mean, even if you look at this thread, I linked it here in chat, and I'll link it again here. He talks about how he's been at the marketing department and like handling like the presentation of the game for 7-8 years now. That's a major role for a guy that's so likable to, be out. I'd say
I think Bjorn B is a cool dude. I think that he's somebody else who's like, if CCB did hire Bjorn B for something, I would think that would be a cool and reasonable pickup. Yeah, I'm biased in his favor because one time he came to try to attack me when I was streaming in a Velder, and it was cute and fun. But that's also kind of what I think about when I think of Bjorn B streaming is cute and fun. It's not usually something associated with EVE Online. So, anyway,
moving on. It's out of the way. We gotta move on, and that's where we are gonna jump into the fun that is Nullsec Power Hour. There's a lot of things going down in Nullsec right now, and we're gonna talk about it because it's spicy. Alright, so I have a quick anecdote here. We're not going to go too much on this. I had a talk with Sort Dragon. GOTG is deploying. It's not all of GOTG. It's 2 major groups in GOTG are going. They're going on the Warpath. Where that ends up, don't know yet. We will see. But he couldn't be here today to talk about it. It's too early in the morning. It's in Australia. I think it's 4 a.m. right now, if I remember correctly, on his part of the world. So he could not be here. But that's happening. It's going to happen. So another major player in the game is going out to shoot people, which is never bad for the game. I'm excited for this.
I hope they're coming to Hackenden, because God knows we can't handle this on our own.
Bring Ravens.
Please come save us, Sort. Save us from the evil NC Dot. They're undocking. We can't handle it.
Yeah, that's right. I've noticed sort of like a Reddit pushback campaign to try to suggest that like a NID is in some kind of trouble over there, even though it seems like it's a perfectly normal NID deployment.
This is a great segue. So please, Frisk, why don't you tell us how is the coding going?
It's going fine. We're having fun. I mean, the whole point of us coming down here after the HK thing, we were bored to death. There's been nothing going on. Everybody's going back to crabbing, and it is not a happy group when we're all just crabbing around when you start fighting with each other. So we like to go kick things. So Shines and the guys were sitting around us like, well, what have not we done lately? Well, let's go bug NC Dot. We haven't bugged them in a year since the last Syndicate R64 shit. So we decided to create a new staging, close our curse staging, and move our new staging to Hackenden, and then we did. And we didn't bring any supers or anything. We just brought some suitcase dreads and a bunch of ships, and we're going out and we're fighting all the time. So, of course, that means that, NC Dot has to start reading and acting like, we're coming down there to do something more than just fight and have a good time and try to put pressure on them, because that's what we like to do. And it just makes me laugh because You know, one day it's you guys are why don't you bring something to fight with? You never come and bring anything to fight, so we do. And then, oh, you guys suck. You got dumpster. We killed you. This, that, and the other thing. And then they go and they ref like half of our iHubs in Cloud Ring to force us to go back to Fountain to clean that up. And then they say we're leaving. It's like, no, we're just cleaning our messes up. We're still there. And then I laughed because after that whole stuff went up there, on Reddit we started seeing all those guys giving us a hard time about leaving. And I'm like, well, I thought we just left. And then now we're having a big Raven feed, a strategic feed in the hack. Come on. So we're having fun. I like it.
The small scale about this is what's interesting. So like I skimmed the Reddit thread. I didn't really read it. I was just like, okay, here's this whining about a knit. Okay. And while you were talking there, I just brought it back up and I went and I scrolled down, and this whole thing is about a knit losing 30 billion ISK. Like what? Like who fucking cares? Like Jesus Christ.
We walked the Raven fleet. That's never happened before. I mean,
it's a 15. Let me see if I've got the report here correctly. It's correct, like a 15 bill versus a 30 bill.
So they
fight. Like
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah. They tackled a Oracle and killed an Oracle and a fax, and then just kind of tried to get away, and they got chased by Titans. And to quote one of the FCs from Goons that showed up, because hey, there's Ravens fighting, let's go show up. He says, I got Boson on one side and somehow managed to dodge that, then dodged the 70 smart bomb Titans on the other side and got the fleet away.
Oh, this is funny. We have Goons, please do something. Make Eve great again. That's a great way to get me to do any, as immediately invoke frothing hostility from me. Blah, 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 blah. Please do a fucking State of the Goonian and just go start something. There's a bunch of things that are going to be kicking off in Eve, as we're seeing already. Guardians of the Galaxy is about to be deploying somewhere. I think that March is going to be a big month for marching, right? That's what happens. People come out of winter, they've got an axe to grind, and stuff kicks off. And I think that we're going to see a lot more engagement on a number of theaters, just based upon the intel I currently
especially
have.
right before summer, right? Like, none of the Europeans are on vacation yet. Everyone's got nothing else to do other than maybe spring cleaning that they want to avoid. But Mr. Hywanto is here from Snuff. What were you going to say about the NC Dot initiative fund?
I was just going to say, you have to remember that 30 bill is a lot to kill in Pharaoxes and Retributions, and that's all they can fly, right? So that's like a lot of Pharaoxes and Retributions. And then the other thing with Mitani saying that, you know, why aren't Goons going to deploy? I don't know why you guys are asking Middens. You got to ask Aerith, and then Aerith gets paid off, and then they go home anyways, right? So,
that's right. Aerith is actually in charge of the alliance. That's
Hey, wars don't happen without the pocket of the purse, and he's got the power of the purse. So, power of the purse.
I think Aerith makes the rest of the finance team very happy about being very high profile. Nobody ever talks about Weasel or anything like that,
or Querns or
Shadows.
I've been told that Aerith is basically the big brother of Boat. Is that an accurate description of Aerith?
I'd say the other way around, because I'm kind of fat, you know.
I thought Nolak was our finance guy.
Too soon.
Oh, that's fucked up. Good color. What the hell? Oh man.
I think NC Dot was just happy to finally kill the Init Raven fleet. You know, they could have done that a few months ago when they lost their Keepstar and 2 Titans doing it. I guess now is a better time.
Hey, look, as far as I'm concerned, we killed the Rorqual op success. So, you know, hey, we had to whelp 30 billion to do it. Fine, that's what we do these days, right? You know, you go whaling with ravens.
So this, again, since we're talking about whelps and fun, we didn't get a chance to really talk about this too much, but since we have our wonderful Snuff representative here, I heard you guys, you caught a bunch of rental hells and killed them. What actually happened there? Like, I heard there was some great memes involved.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So, Tao was just playing PUBG, and I was discussing why Vert's in Alliance and about how we have to meet our disabled quota and stuff. And then we got intel that Siberian Squad was moving supers through the Vino pocket towards Pureblind. So we hit up the local Pureblind guys, which was like Bandalogs, and then jump cloned into our cache in the Pureblind area, and then hit up in it as well. And then Civ Squad baited with the super and triggered an escalation. So we made Bandalogs initially bait, and then Tri come in because Tri are pets. And then from there, they dropped the load, and we came in with dreads and killed as much as we could within it before they'd cleared all the dictors and hictors off, because we didn't have that many, and obviously a Moonin fleet plus 30 supers is quite hard to hold. And so they just smart bombed off bubbles and left. But there was quite an interesting thing after that in the Blue Donut Discord, which is where all the FC sit and jerk themselves off to their egos, and which is where Killer Bee got really mad at his pet Ghast, because Ghast allegedly was helping us with the bait, and they were like, oh, if you help Snuff, we're gonna go and roll all your shit. And it was like super passive aggressive from Killer Bee, because MC doesn't like when their pets get off their leashes, because that's all they have left. All they have is their pets. They have to keep them together, because the mean Goonies, they're gonna come and they don't have enough money to pay Aerith off anymore. It's a hard life.
There aren't enough Fashion Fortizars left for them to pay Aerith off.
I mean, speaking of pets, there's a rumor that their bot people may not have a home to enjoy soon. Is that what I'm hearing? Like that there might be happier places to rent in Eve, down in a region known as period basis. Cheaper, better living.
That was a very awkward segue, but yes. We haven't announced it yet, but yeah, the Imperium is basically. I don't remember if we talked.
No,
about
Aerith announced it. He did on 2 weeks ago. He came out here and he was like, "So by the way, we're renting this region, so come get it."
Yeah, we are going to be renting out period basis. We haven't actually posted the announcement post yet. That's waiting for the finance team to do that. But it's basically just going to be economic warfare. We're not really doing it to. Hopefully our enemies don't. They probably won't believe me anyway. But,
see, this is why
we're not really doing it to make money. We're basically going to be. We hope to make some money off of it, but the whole idea. I was saying this on the fireside. So I really like Hassan Minhaj's Patriot Act show on Netflix. It's fucking awesome, and he does this episode where he's digging into Amazon.com and like Jeff Bezos's business practices, and talking about how diapers.com at one point defied Amazon, and so Amazon proceeded to basically waste $100 million to just completely sell diapers for nothing, to bankrupt diapers.com for daring to defy Amazon, and then bought them out at the end of it. So that's basically my attitude towards renting at this point. It's not something that we've tried renter models before. It's not something that we want as a primary source of income, but we're going to set it up as just a loss leader to deliberately undercut our enemies who primarily use renting as their main form of income. So
you know what's great about that? Sadis here is here to tell us. Sadis is here to tell us all about it. I got Sadis here.
Before Sadis tells you all about it, I was under the impression that the reason why you guys were renting out period basis was because of all the dank CSM leaks that told you they were nerfing anomalies again 5 months before it happened, and that's why it's all happened. I mean, that's what I thought. At least that's what people tell me on Reddit.
One of the things you need to understand is that the operation to work with Red Alliance and to secure this base has been in process for over 14 months. So
were you seeding that wormhole for a whole year like we did?
No, actually, you guys did a fantastic job in that wormhole, and congratulations to Init. But the period basis operation and discussions have been taking place since 2017. So really, if they're going to say that this was a dank CSM leak, that's completely off base.
Yeah, this is something that's been also why would we care? That's another thing. If there was a broad-based anomaly nerf, that's just going to hurt our enemies more than
everything
that's the thing that makes me laugh, and we try to tell that to everybody. It's like, look, if you try to balance the game based on what the Imperium does, you're going to screw everybody else but us. Don't do that. It's a bad idea, and people still say it's happening. It's just
It was obviously a reverse leak where we knew we were going to take the region, and then we convinced CCP to nerf anomalies so that we would have more space.
The really good thing about that is that absolutely increases the size of our super cap umbrella, which is the only place where we really want a rat in mine anyways.
Oh my god.
So Sadis, tell us, I mean, you're here. I heard you're in charge of this. What can you share with us today for the people that may have questions about what's happening on period basis?
Well, the first thing is, we're setting up period basis as an alternate rental empire, not necessarily designed to exploit people the same way that NC and PL do, where they charge them too much, treat them poorly, and farm them. We're looking to give people the ability to make money, and enjoy PvE content in a relatively safe area. We're providing infrastructure and an entire region where they will have the ability to rat and mine. So what we're looking to do is really give people an alternate method of playing a game that they would really like to play, but have been persecuted for so long. So that's really the plan.
You fucked that sales speech up there, didn't you? You like didn't know what to say. You like paused there for like.
You choked for a moment there, yeah.
I love you say this,
I mean,
but
you know, the whole thing might blow up in our face. One of the things that's a important thing is whenever we have some sort of big, crazy new like economic program or something, like it might just end in disaster, like the whole Viceroy. Basically, wait until we actually have the post from the finance team.
Yeah.
But we are going to do something with period basis, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
I mean,
I don't want to make too many promises about
Yeah.
our success because, like, we're going to try the Space Walmart thing, and maybe it works, but maybe it doesn't actually work at all, and we'll just have to do something else with it.
That's entirely possible, but I'd expect an announcement in the next week or so, which should have all the rules between finance and the rules coming out of the Imperium at large.
Now, do we happen to know?
Speaking of renting,
What you got, K-Color?
NC Dot has been charging anyone who loses a ship to Imperium $1 billion ISK per ship. So if you're
Wow.
a renter and you've been dying because they can't protect you, you could at least come to period basis and we would just make fun of you instead of charging you.
So you've already lost something, and they choose to punish you more. That doesn't seem like something you do in a proper arrangement. That just
The
doesn't make sense.
beatings
to me.
will continue until morale improves. That's the.
Yeah, I mean, functionally speaking, like, there's a couple ways this can go, and just to like wrap up the renter stuff. So, like, we can try the economic warfare thing, and if it doesn't actually work, then we'll just convert it into a different sort of rental region. If that doesn't work, then we'll just turn it into a floodplain. I don't want to get us, like, whenever we're experimenting with something new, we made a mistake with this with the Viceroy thing. Like, we got drunk at a Madison Goon meet, me and Scion, and we came up with this great idea, which turned out to be a bad idea and pissed a whole bunch of people off. If we had kept our mouths shut about it, or if we hadn't made such grandiose claims about what we were going to do with it, we wouldn't have set the expectations where we had. So we're going to be experimenting with using this region, at least in the near term, in that way. Maybe it works. Maybe we fuck up and pivot like we've had to do with other things. So that's basically the only marker I want to put on.
I mean, the thing is, before we're gonna move on here in a second. I think the Viceroy thing worked out really well because there's a couple of corps in Goons now that came out of that program that would have probably never been in Goons and doing so well if they had it started off as like, hey, I see you have this rental place. I want to bring my corp there.
Yeah, that's not the Viceroy program. That's
well,
That's
You're
that's
thinking
when
of
we did
Section
like
8.
that's when we declared
it's-
war on Losec. I mean,
yeah, different.
I'm pretty sure we won. You know,
What?
Snuff ended up in Imperium.
They joined
It
Goons.
was-
You're right. That's a good point. They
We
did
fought-
join.
Yeah,
It's,
well,
it's the fucking long game.
you know, we helped you guys kill the Titans, you know, the Tissue Titans, and, you know, got your
Oh, that
morale
was
up. We
great. Yeah.
saved Goons on the edge of, you know.
I remember contacting High about that, and he was like, "Yep, I'm on board." So that was awesome.
The Viceroy thing is kind of an interesting exercise in fucking up messaging completely, because we functionally ended up being able to. There were some systems that were functional I guess that was a couple years ago now. Time flies. But there were some elements of that program that we were able to adapt and find some success with. It's just was long after, because basically, like, I got up in front of the entire galaxy here on the Meta Show and waved my dick around like a fucking idiot and said, "Oh, we're going to do this, oh, we're going to do that," and pissed off a whole bunch of people. And then it became a matter of pride for them to stick it in my craw and make a point that it wasn't going to work. Which is what happened. And if we had, kept it quiet and kept it at like just an internal policy discussion, and I hadn't herfed a whole bunch of blurfs about it, we would have probably seen some degree of success a lot longer ago. So yeah. That's me officially climbing down off of any sort of grand claims involving period basis. I'm done equivocating about this now. Let's talk about something a little bit more interesting.
All right, so moving on. What do you want to call it? I guess the first thing to happen now, ever. A Komodo has died. For those that don't know, the Komodo...
Built
Komodo.
Komodo.
Yes, built Komodo. Sorry, I got to be clear about that. because one died in production in Geminate, or was it Veil the Silent? One of the two.
Veil.
Yeah. So
The
one was
Waffles one.
yeah, one was in build. It died.
That was in Gem.
Was it Gem?
Anyways,
Whatever.
look, it died. The point is, moving on. Then just last week, or I believe this week, a wonderful group of test guys got the call from Waffles that there was a super tackled. It was Radiant 77S. They went and tackled the super. When they tackled it, a Ragnarok appeared to try and boson them away and fight their way out of it. Test was already on the way when the Ragnarok got tackled. The super made it out. Waffles held the Titan down. A whole shitload of bombers arrived. But let's be honest, 200 bombers aren't really good purely for subcaps on their own. They get this Titan, they kill it. In the process of killing this Titan, Fraternity escalates, and they get more Titans and supers tackled. So Test brings their Titan fleet that's nearby. They bring about, I think, 35, 40 Titans and 30 supers. They jump a regional gate. Obviously, you can't sign them out from a regional side. You jump it. They haze another Titan to kill a Erebus, but at this point, Fraternity has now blued everyone. And when I say this, they had set Horde blue, they had set NC Dot blue, they had set a Black Legion blue, and set up a jump bridge network to where you could literally go from Horde staging system in Geminate to Fraternity staging system in 8 jumps. It was like traversing Fountain for us, right? Horde arrives with a big subcap fleet, NC Dot's on the way, all these people on the way, and Fraternity goes, okay, we now have control of the subcaps, we're going to bring the house. And they drop 60 Titans. Test is aware that the house is coming, so they scramble back to the gate to jump. A Leviathan and the Komodo get Hector pointed. When you're Hector pointed, you can't take a gate. So the scramble becomes on Test side to kill the Hectors. They kill all but one Hector. The Leviathan jumps through the gate, but the Komodo gets stuck, and the Komodo gets DD'd to death. And the first Komodo in the game has been blown up. Yep.
That was a lot of Titans for a flash from Frat.
Yeah, a lot of
I'm
people.
impressed with how fast they can pull their Titans out, because every time we go whaling in there, it's like a one-way ticket home. We'll get a kill or two, but they're going to boast in the shit out of us the rest of the way home. So yeah. they sling their Titans around like nothing.
Well, on my screen, he looked on the gate. So this is where we have some jokes. I made it there. I was there on an alt, and it just so happened that the loot was taken by a friend of mine out of that Komodo. So he literally moonwalked out with the 30 billion-esque in loot from the Komodo wreck and got it to high sec safety. And he did it on his Horde character. So the loot didn't even go to anyone.
We do have Villy here, I see in chat. So
yeah,
Villy, if you feel like popping on the Meta Show Discord and telling us what happened with that fight, I'd be curious to hear the test perspective. And if not, you don't feel like it.
Yeah, he commented earlier that he wasn't there. But
yeah, he was
welcome to come on.
Yeah, he wasn't at the fight. We were trying to get someone from Test to come on, and someone from Fraternity, but all the people really involved weren't able to make it today. But that was a big deal. I mean, he looked like he was on the game, maybe off. But the fact that the Komodo died, what was interesting is the Komodo didn't have a proper fit on it. It had like a passive tank dealing with Newt's fit rather than like a full-blown tank everything. And who knows, he might have tanked all those DDs if he had had a proper fit. Like the pilot himself commented that he had stripped off most of the fitting before going into the fight. So yeah, that's
there
just
was a lot of dreads on grid.
Yeah, it was a mess. Regional gates, not fun. I don't recommend going through them.
Late U.S. time zone is also like early Chinese time zone, right? Like
yeah, it was around
it was just a really bad time to do it.
I think it was around 6 Eve, which is about 9 or 10 a.m. in China, so it wasn't like it was really super early for them. Oh, hey, Billy, how's it going?
He's taken a vow of silence after our big break.
Nope, we can't hear anything, Billy. Sorry.
All right, well, while Billy works on his microphone...
Next thing! We'll come back. Yeah, we'll definitely come back, because another thing died that is just about, I would say, is more rare, or insanely more rare. A gold Magnate has died. And I want to point out what a big deal about this, why this is a big deal, okay? Not only did a gold Magnate die, because there's only 10 of them in the game, so these things are worth whatever the person wants to price them out at. So if somebody wants to sell them for $1 trillion, they could sell them for $1 trillion, right? It's just one of those priceless ships that has the price set by the owner. But what makes
Arenda's
this...
putting it out, there's 2 left in the game right now.
Yeah, there were 10 initially, right?
I can't remember how many they initially released, but I think it was something like that. But there are 2
Arinda
left.
says there was only 1, and then there was 4 more.
Okay, so... Okay.
There were original, and then 2 of the 4 have died.
Okay, so here's why this is a big deal. If you go over to the link I gave you in the kill mail, the guys that killed it are some kind of PvP savants. And let me explain why. We've been watching them now for about 3 or 4 months. There's a group of us who like to PvP with like small scale friends, like 2 or 3 of us. And we've been watching these guys. They're either brothers or long-term friends. And what they do is they set up to hunt whales and Eve. If you look at their kill board, they literally kill 10 billion sins almost weekly. They've killed Pen of Smash 16 billion Marshall and Delve. And what these guys do is they take out a bait ship. They make a brand new bait character, they skill inject it, and they stick it in the wild where the target ship they want to kill hunts. So for example, let's say it's a Sin. They'll set out like a VNI, totally bait, in the corporation the VNI would normally get hunted in, and they put it out there for like a week, and they just rat like a normal ratter would for 8 hours a day, around the time that guy would be there, while having a ship cloaked next to it. As soon as that Sin drops, they drop 2 carriers, nuke it, done. If you look at their kill board history, they've literally done this for everything. And now they get a golden fucking ship. Like, wow.
They killed an AT ship like 2 days after.
Right. Like, these guys are fucking gods at PvP and, like, the long game of waiting to catch something like this.
Yeah, I know who they actually are, and they are, well, the guy who runs it. Freddy is the main guy, and he is really...
I've tried to get him on this show because he's that good, and there's a lot of people that I trust when it comes to PvP. Like, there's a great goon named Kunmi. They think very highly of these guys, and they won't come on a show. Like, I could never get a hold of them. I've emailed them, I've messaged them, I've asked people to ask them to come on. They kind of want to stay anonymous.
Probably don't want to have a higher profile, because if they raise their profile, it'd make it harder for them.
But they're so good at this. I'm sorry, but they have to be acknowledged. They're the fucking best, probably the best PvPers I've ever seen duo in the game, period. And that's 12 years of playing.
What Boat said is not actually how they hunt, but I don't want to give away their trade secrets.
You don't need to.
You can bring Jonas on the show. Jonas hunts with them. He can walk you through it.
That would be awesome, because they're just that, like, the way that they do it is so good. When they caught Pen of Smash, it was just like, holy fuck, look who they caught. Like, they caught his Marshall when other goons just couldn't catch it. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome thing.
All right, so I want to make a note, as we get closer to the 45-minute mark, we will be going into Cool Kids Only mode in about 5 minutes. That's where we do subscribers only mode in chat, and where we take questions from the audience. If you have anything for any of us here when we get there, take your questions. We do have a couple of other news items, though. I'm going to go ahead and segue us to this Aether Wars thing. That, yeah,
you should definitely read my note on this, because...
Yeah, I'm not too... so I'm going to just straight up... This is going to be the first question I've asked anybody on the CSM about it, because this is how big of a blip it is on my radar. So was the CSM clued in about the Aether Wars thing? Do you guys have any comment, or was this just like out of fucking left field, Chris?
This was out of left field. As far as I can tell, this is the kind of thing where I feel like Hilmar was sitting down with 2 friends of his in London, and they said, hey, we've got this new idea for this thing, but we need to find 10,000 people that'll show up and see if they can crash our server. And Hilmar's like, you know, hold my beer, I got friends. You know, and that's how I feel like this kind of came down, because the Eve relationship is very tangential. I mean, granted, if this stuff works, maybe down the road, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe it'll be something that might end up in the game. But right now, it looks like they're just going to slap Eve art on top of whatever they've already built, and they're going to try to get us all to show up and help do their demo.
Has there been any incentive discussions or like a reason for EVE players to install this thing and give it a...
Well, we had a very long conversation about this on Open Comms last night, and I was in the minority because I said from the beginning, if you're going to ask folks for their time, you're going to ask them to take part in this, which these guys are obviously going to use in their next round of financing if this thing works. Give us a little something to show up. And I had suggested, and I brought this up internally, give everybody 100 plex or something like that just to be there. Sign up and show up and participate. It's a very little amount of money in the overall scheme of things, but it's at least an incentive to get folks there. Otherwise, there really isn't a reason to do it other than to say maybe I was there when the new tech was tried out.
Yeah, that's the thing that's odd about this is like trying to get, I mean, it's very difficult. This is something that I think people may not, I mean, I would hope that people realize this intuitively, but seeing this without any like organizational outreach kind of left me skeptical.
Yeah.
It's a shitload of work to move even hundreds of people from point A to point B, especially in an environment where you don't have any existing infrastructure or like fleets or sort of software systems to do it, right? So when we have done multi-game invasions, like there's a shitload of prep work that, requires, just tons and tons of people. Like there's no, it's so complicated that it's difficult for me to put it easily in words. And the fact that they haven't reached out to alliance leaders about, hey, would you guys be interested in moving your people? Because software companies will reach out to me periodically to get special deals where we'll help like beta test or stress test games, do alpha testing, because the Imperium is one of the few organizations that can actually deliver on even hundreds of people. Even a huge fight in EVE doesn't hit 10,000. So the idea that they're going to we're going to have a party and no Titans are getting destroyed. And there's or like if you got every single nullsec alliance leader on a Discord and did a shitload of work to coordinate them and incentivize them and tied it to something that actually mattered, then you could start getting some headway. But hey guys, we're going to throw a party, 1,000 people are going to turn up is just ridiculous. I think that's my take on it.
That's how I saw this.
I agree with that 100%.
Like that's how I saw this. It was like if you got all of the 0-0 big alliance people and said, look, we're going to give you guys something unique, or the top 100 people out of this 10,000 are going to get X, Y, and Z. Hey, look, Mittens is invisible. If there was an incentivization there, maybe they get 5,000. But who in the hell in their right mind is going to show up for the acclaimed 10,000-man fight when the game shits itself after, what, 3? I think 3,000?
Well, the whole point of this thing is that they have this new operating system that they're trying to use that apparently has some kind of infinite scalability that they can use in the cloud so that they can handle having 10,000 people on grid. And the whole idea is that if they can demonstrate that at this game developers conference that this thing works, then they'll get more financing and they can put it into practice, and then they'll start making games for it or adapting old games to it, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, the bottom line is we are essentially going to be booth babes for these guys at this conference. So, all right, pay me for my time to show up.
Yeah,
otherwise,
they
why would I do
round
it?
of VC funding? Yeah, like this is the thing where they want to be able to point to this and then run around to invest. Like, here's another thing. Like, if it was this thing that CCP was using, like if it was like a CCP project that they wanted to try some next gen thing that was going to be directly related to making EVE Online better, that would be one thing. But it's strange. Like I get the press releases that CCP puts out, and that thing I was out. I like looked at it on my phone and just like, what the fuck is this? Right? That was basically my reaction. Like, why am I getting an email about this crap? If they were going to do a mass test, that we should have already heard about it. We should have heard about it through the CSM, stuff like that. So I don't even fucking know.
We need to move on to something else real quick.
I'm going to set us into Cool Kids mode while Boat does a
Well,
segue.
right before we go to Cool Kids, 2 seconds. I've been asked to do this before Cool Kids, if you don't mind. There is a memorial going down. I've been asked by Haiwanto, and there's several people, big names involved in this. There'll be a Sino Vigil.
I'm actually on my way there right now.
Yeah, at 2200 Eve, right as the militia finishes in 15 minutes in Lantorn on a Fortizar, and there will also be a huge frig brawl, purely frigates, at 2200. And if you want to come get involved, bring a frigate, fly there, have fun. The guy that passed away, he was known for enjoying frigates and fights with frigates. So they're doing something nice for him. Yeah, so there's the link to the red thread, and if you want to go get involved in that, please do. Yeah, that's a nice thing. And there's also groups like PL going, NC Dot going, whole lot of like variety of Eve going to this. So cool. I wanted to share that real quick. And now we go cool kids only.
It's in low sec, so Snuff will probably show up in Titans, right?
Wow.
Titans are the new frigate.
No, it's Macariel's and Valgorn's, mate, with the Legion Logi.
#1 Imperium Titan Alliance. Okay.
For the moment.
All right, so we are going to be going into cool kids mode now. So if people have questions they want to throw to anyone here on our panel, go nuts. And in the meantime, we're is this Hard Knocks thing that you're posting, is that actually real, or is this just some random shit that you found on Reddit?
So this is legit. Apparently they kicked out 2 of the big directors, Capri Sun Craft Foods. Characters were removed. And another one of their directors, the guy that's running Hard Knocks, was also seen as the reason that Hard Knocks has been going downhill for so long. And kind of the reason why the Alliance has been dying slowly. And there's been a lot of discussion internally in Hard Knocks for Hard Knocks to die off and like move on to greener pastures. And then this vote thread that was leaked from internally was found about, hey, should we disband and just call it a day? A lot of people believe this is going to be coming eventually anyway, so
it's a hard knock life for them.
Well, apparently all he cares about, Braxis cares about, is like the money, because they make an insane amount of money off the Cobalt Edge regions, and like the other 2 directors just wanted to become more of a PvP orientated like alliance again, but they just care about the like renting and the faction forts, and they want to let go of the blues and stuff, so they can't, have the PvP that they want, so they kind of just kick them out. I just care about the money.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this out there. It's been a known thing for a long, long time that the rental model in the drones, for some groups, is pay cash, get to have exclusive access to a place, and then you don't have to pay rental ISK, right? So no ISK will change hands, just cash, and that tends to happen in parts of the drones. It's been happening for a long, long time. X-Death has told us about it before and other things like that. It just happens. So it's very possible that the guys in charge of Hard Knocks are like, hey, man, we're rolling in real-life bucks here. Why the fuck would we give this up to go shoot spaceships, right? Like, so that's an interesting note. I don't know if that's true or not with them, but this is what I've been told. So, Mr. Wanto, want any comment?
Well,
has Capri run any fleets for you guys yet? Hi.
No, he's just kind of back again. Like the other director joined us as well, I think.
Oh,
they
so you guys
do make
got both of them.
Yeah, they make hundreds of billions. They make hundreds of billions of that region. I think Skill Yourself makes more. And I think the game is at the point where money shouldn't be your primary concern. It should just be getting the fights that you can, because it is kind of in the dumpster right now. And it should be about enjoying the game rather than just making money, because there's plenty of money to go around.
They have to replace a couple keep stars, right?
Yikes. Hey, you guys said it, not me.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose, what, 2 trillion ISK? I mean, that's, what, 10 months of renting in Cobalt Edge?
No, dude. No. It's about 3 months of renting that, dude.
Yeah,
they make a lot.
But here's the thing I don't get about rental regions, and this is, I'm glad this is a thing, because discussion is, I've never, like, who gets the money in this? Does it go to those leaders that kind of run the shit? Or does it actually trickle down to the members who are losing supers and titans to keep those regions renting going, Like, if you look at Horde, you just don't see the funding anywhere from all of the renting they did in TKE for months and months and months, and all the stuff they did in Perimeter for months and months and months. They're still flying for Axes and Retributions and, like, things that are the cheapest thing on the planet. So, who gets this rental income of trillions of ISK that these people are supposedly making?
It's obviously going to go to the leadership, right? And they deal with the SRP, the big bills and stuff. That it's not going to trickle down to the members on the larger scales. And, people like... But it's the goon money, yeah?
Is it just me, or does it seem like a lot more alliances have been dying lately? I mean, it seems like it's...
That question was asked.
Kind of...
Our money all goes to members. By the way, check out Eris New Komodo.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting question, which is, one of the things that has always kind of annoyed me about discussions of renting in the drone regions is that you see these wildly disparate claims about how much ISK is actually there, or if it's actually worth it because maybe ISK isn't changing hands, maybe real life money is changing hands and it's not traceable because somebody is PayPaling an alliance leader money and there's no ISK transaction for CCP to go after, which is what Boat was talking about earlier. In which case, if that's the case, then it's just completely outside of EVE and it's not actually helping the people that are nominally getting rented to. So one of the things that has always been a challenge about this is there's these radically different sort of lines about what's really going on in these renter regions, and you don't really see like many leaked spreadsheets or any actual hard data. I mean, Haiwanto, have you seen anything? Like, I'm not too close to the guys in School Yourself. I haven't really been paying too much attention to any of the shit that's been happening up there. Like, when you're talking about this, like, have you seen anything that we can like point to as far as data goes with the shit?
Skill Yourself is different to most alliances because I believe that they split it between the corps and they have corp level SRP instead of alliance level SRP, and it's split like that. So like the bigger corps get more out the renting than the other ones, and they like hand out ships. So that's kind of a different one. They make more than Hard Knocks, but I'm really not sure because Skill Yourself is basically the new culture, and they kind of just sit there and do nothing. So it's kind of hard to figure out what they make because they're not dying.
It's an interesting thing to look at because you have these two groups, Hard Knocks and Skill U, who are known for PvP. That's all they ever did, is all they ever wanted to do, until they came across renting, and then they get a hold of renting money, and they're like, oh fuck, we're making so much fucking money, let's just not go piss anybody off, so they will evict us like we did to X-Death, you know, let's not step on his toes because we're making so much money. It feels like that happens with some of these groups that have never had lots and lots of money. If you remember, Skill U started off as, I believe, they were the that small PvP group that worked with us in Delve sometimes. I can't remember their name.
Pizza to pasta.
Pizza, right, Pizza. It wasn't like they were always rolling in cash then, so now all of a sudden they're rolling in hundreds of billions potentially. Maybe they just say, fuck it, we're making so much money, why not just keep making it until we don't have to make it anymore. So that's a dynamic of this that's interesting, right? Like you brought up the the alliance that lived in Fountain.
Culture.
The culture, yeah. Like, you see these people come across money, and they don't know what to do with it. They're just like, oh, fuck, we have so much money. Let's just keep making it. And you don't see them go out in PvP. Like, Skill U pulled out of FRT space, 2 months ago, and they haven't been back. I haven't seen them do anything. And we've been speculating about it on this show plenty of times. Like, where are they going to go? What they're going to do?
It's hard because Skill Yourself doesn't like to lose, so they have to go for like the lesser entities, and like it doesn't matter if the lesser entities have more numbers or anything because it's one of those things where you can fight worse people when you know they're shit and you can just outship them. And like Moonit, they used to fly Moonits a lot, which are a very strong comp these days, and they're not gonna, as soon as Test deployed down there, they went home because they can't fight Test because Test has too many bodies, and they actually know how to PvP instead of like the renter guys that lived in the area that Skill Yourself for hitting. So yeah, obviously they were going to go home. They have a reputation, right? It's all about your reputation.
So it's like PL used to be. Like, PL used to be known for this. Like, Villa used to say this. Like, PL would go bully the small guy. And when PL ran out of people they could bully, they just retreated and made money, right? They went up north. They retreated into Tenal and Tribute and just kind of ran out of things to do. Do you think Skill U is going to run into that eventually or no?
I mean, they already are doing that. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to sit there like the culture did and sit there till like Hilo. Like Ragnar's already in there. Did you see Higher Than Everest join them? But
no, I did not. I didn't know Ragnar joined them. So
yeah, dude, they basically are the culture. It's pretty fun.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that changes things.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at things, right? So
we haven't had a chance to touch on this. We were in theory going to do this first, but we're actually going to do this last. Is talk about the 64-bit in the last 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
So I am about as technically capable as I am at doing arithmetic, which is, if you ever watch me roll dice and try to add up the results, it's a little frightening. So one of the things I'd like to, I'm going to turn this over to Brisk, because as a CSM representative, maybe he's heard from CCP. Could you explain in small words the significance of the 64-bit client, why we should care about it, what has been its development status, and what is your perspective? What has CCP said to you guys that you can reveal to us?
So as I understand it, the primary benefits to the 64-bit client, at least from CCP's perspective, is it future-proofs the game a little bit. The 32-bit client is old. Almost everybody has 64-bit operating systems now. So being able to use a 64-bit operating system frees up the amount of memory that the game can use, and so that you're not in these big fleet fights. You're not going to have to go into potato mode anymore in order to not get memory crashes and things like that. Like right now, the old 32-bit client, you could only use about 4 gig of RAM, no matter how much your computer had per client. And now that's basically has been removed. And I know during the test, I was getting between 8.7 and 9 or so. And I think Antiquarian mentioned on Twitter that he was getting up to 10, which is good because it lets you play the game and watch the game in the way it was intended, which is with all the graphics on and the sound on, rather than having to put it in potato mode and turn everything off so that you can actually not get kicked out of the game. Yeah. So I think that's the one side of it. I think the other main side of it is basically just that it helps them to move forward with changing the back ends. Instead of using DX9, they can use DX11, potentially go to DX12, so they can take advantage of all the new bells and whistles on all the computers that we have now. So I think it's a good thing.
Is this something that's been occupying, like, when you guys were up there? And again, like, I understand there's an NDA, so you can only tell us so much. But is the 64-bit client something that has been occupying a tremendous amount of CCP's development resources? And I asked that in the context of, it doesn't really seem like too much has been coming down the pipe recently. So I was wondering if just, like, tons of teams at the office were working on the 64-bit thing for a while, or...
It's hard to say. I know that they've been working on this as a side thing for a while, and I think, at least from my perspective, I would be more surprised, and I'd probably say that things like the Serenity server changeover and things like that probably had more of an impact than the 64-bit client. But in the end, I think getting this done now, and something that's been on the plate for a while, people have been asking for it, and I think it's a good sign to the players that CCP's in this for the long haul, and that they're not just going to keep patching an old system that uses obsolete, out-of-date software. And they're going to try to move it a little bit closer to where it needs to be. So that's a good sign. That means they're not just in maintenance mode, as everybody keeps saying.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, and I think you're right, because if they were, like, if Pearl Abyss was going to take over EVE and then just park it and harvest existing profit while it's slowly went down the drain, there wouldn't be any investment in a infrastructure project of that sort. So you're right, that is actually something that's pretty cool.
And this could have been a push from Pearl Abyss, because just about 6 months ago, Pearl Abyss took one of their flagship games, BDO, and created an HD rework of the whole game and redid the entire game in modern graphics. So this could have been a thing where they're like, hey, we just modernized all our other games. Let's see about getting the 64-bit up and running so we can do this. Because one of the biggest complaints you have in a big Titan brawl is eventually, and we saw this when we streamed those fights, is eventually one of your clients will hit the memory limit, the game will start to flutter, and then it will, it's crashing. Like, any moment it's going to crash. And so when you're streaming the big fights, you would literally do a rotation of clients. You'd have one on grid ready to go watching the fight, another at login screen, and a third one logged off. And you would just constantly have to rotate these because eventually one is going to crash. You couldn't have more than one going at a time because then both would crash and you'd lose the visuals, right? This 64-bit adjustment, especially for people that have upwards of 64 gig of RAM, they're never going to hit that limit, or if they do hit that limit, it'll be 8, 9, 10 hours into it. So that's a big deal, right? Instead of having to worry about your shit going down 30 minutes in, it may last the full fight, which is cool.
Right. It's definitely going to be a benefit to streamers. And I think, I would say, I don't think Pearl Abyss had anything to do with this, because this is
I was about to ask,
thing.
because you were on the CSM, so, instead of wild speculation, Briss, can you tell us?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Was CCP working on this prior to the Pearl Abyss acquisition?
Oh yeah. I mean, they had promised us, I want to say, before the last summit, that they had been working on this, and that they actually were going to give us a timing, like a timeline for it. So this is a long-term thing. And just on the PA thing, I'll be bluntly honest. Other than maybe the Korean localization announcement that they just made, I have seen absolutely zero evidence of PA doing anything or caring anything about internal EVE development at all. They seem to be very hands-off. And I've not heard anybody complain about it. I've not heard anybody say, we're only doing this because PA is making us. There's been no complaints like that at all. It's been just business as usual, no different than, prior to the acquisition. So I think a lot of us are always wondering what this is going to mean for the game, and so far it hasn't meant anything. So I guess I take that as a good sign.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that because I also haven't heard anything through any sort of. I haven't seen any chatter. I haven't seen people complaining. I haven't seen anything weird on Twitter. I've heard nothing through the ether at all of PA doing anything. So yeah, I think the 64-bit client is something that they've been talking about for a long time before the acquisition.
I wasn't trying. Yeah, I wasn't trying to make it sound bad. I was trying to make it sound like the PA just they're hands off with it, and that's a good thing, right? They're letting Eve do what they need to do. But this could be like they could be like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? I mean, what are they involved in though? That's the question though, because you say that there's no complaints.
Let's not speculate about it like until we actually have any evidence, right? Like the point is that like they did this acquisition, and I've seen no signs or heard no chatter about PA doing anything. So when we see CCP doing something, like here's the thing, guys. Like when I want to use this as an example, and I'm going to go a little over time on this because I think this is important for people to understand because people are always scared, and they should be. I think it's a reasonable thing to be worried about when you see a game company get taken over. When CCP had the Incarna crisis, and when they implemented or attempted to implement walking in stations, and there was all of the monocle gate nonsense with microtransactions. People within CCP were violently against the project. Well, maybe not violently, you know what I mean. And a million leaks sprung. It was, you could not go to any bar in Iceland without overhearing a lot of the internal pressures and the rivalries. And like, there's this guy from, I'm not under NDA anymore, so I can talk about whatever the hell I want. There was this guy who'd come in from like, BioWare, and he screwed things up, and a lot of the employees were really mad, and blah blah blah. But basically, the point I'm making is that if there's an outside cultural force or an outside business force that is going to do something that is radically against Eve's culture, you're going to see resignations. You're going to see people leaking. You're going to see a lot of internal pushback, and word is going to get out. So we haven't seen any of that. As it relates to Pearl Abyss trying to take the wheel of Eve. So the point is, if PA does do something to Eve, we will hear about it because it can't be done in a subtle way. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So you said someone had a good question up in chat. What was that question? Is there anything you want to say about that? You said someone says, have you ever consider having a third cultural revolution? And you said that's a good question?
No, I was talking about the D's nuts.
Oh, well then well that is an interesting question. I don't know what we're going to do about your nuts, sorry. 11 months, thank you, sir. We're kind of out of things to talk about this week. Other than that, there wasn't much. I mean...
Well, we had a good week this time.
Yes.
I'm pretty happy about that. We're seeing activity perk up across Eve. There's lots of explosions happening around the galaxy. And that augurs well for a more exciting spring, and I'm pleased by that. So thank you all very much, and we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. So thank you to our many guests, some of whom have had the opportunity to wander off. Yeah, okay, cool. So thank you to Haiwanto, who has fucked off. Thank you to Sadis. Thank you to Billy, who tried to come on and couldn't. Yeah. Thank you to K-Collar, and thank you to Brisker Ball, our representative from Initiative to the CSM.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Yeah. So we'll see you next week.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered.